we're getting close to Lag BaOmer, it's a story about the late Nadvona Rebbe. I heard a fellow came to him and said, I went to a Gmach, which is the Jewish free loan, and I asked for help, and they told me they need the collateral. And I don't have, so the Rebbe gave him the etrog box, which he get from his father-in-law, very expensive silver-made etrog box. And when the Rebbe said that story, he said, you know, so many years passed by, and I still do not have that etrog box back, which means that that fellow, even he took the loan, he never returned the money that he owed. But then he continues and he said, guess what? When he comes back to me and asks me for a loan, I always kept lending. Why? Because the mitzvah of chesed is like a business. When you deal with business, and even it happens that you fail, you keep trying again and again and again, because that's the nature of people. We need to survive, we need to support family and ourselves. So that's the way it is. Today we're going to deal with three different sugiyot, involve a lot with partnership and certain level of partnership and monetary disputations. I think after studying this daf, the first conclusion is to show how much our view sometimes in the Torah views, it's different, and we have to accept the Torah view as the correct view. Even sometimes it's kind of hard. Later in this sugya you see two different avenues. One is Rabbi Natan and one is the Rebbe, to get the key point of this sugya. So what is it all about? The first part is the Mishna. We are on page 93. And the Mishnah dealing with the case of a man that married three women. It's in the modern days looks weird, but here we are. It's not just the reality of the case, is just to understand the mindset of the Torah and to later juxtapose and make a logical analysis to a lot of loan cases, partnership cases, and more. מי שהיה נשוי לשלוש נשים ומת. So a fellow committed himself to all three wives equally. So here the issue is in the shtarot, in the promissory notes, when you write contracts, in those days you do not write a date. So since we are not sure what is the consequent order, the big question is, if you have enough money for all the three Ketubot, three marriage contracts, it's not an issue. Here the problem is that it's not enough for the three Ketubot. In general, we have the concept of ein me'arvin simcha besimcha. You do not mix happy occasions with one another. So it appears that it's inappropriate to marry them together. Even in our days, it's a common question with those people who return to Judaism, chozrim b'tshuva, how you treated issue of weddings. Sometimes there are those who feel they should make a wedding for several people. The question is, if that proper. There is a book called Hafla'ah he brought from the Rambam. The Rambam said, and the Hafla'ah said, it's this source is the Mishnah, that a person can marry with several. The difference is only the Sheva Brachat, the 7 blessings after, it can be different. So the Hafla'ah brings a source from our Mishnah that said that there is a marriage of together. For sure there are others that say that the whole concept of Mishnah applies to a different time of marriages, the discussion is about Tosefet Ketubah, which means that the Tosefet Ketubah happened in a different time, or the other way around, the Tosefet Ketubah was together. But anyway, the Mishnah said, "Mi shaya nasui le-shalosh nashim," that someone betrothed 3 wives, umet. It's the way that we understand that he committed himself to Tosefet Ketubah, to additional money of the Ketubah, to all 3, and then he passed away. Ketubata shel zo maneh, the first wife, he committed himself to maneh. We are now using the currency of those times, but again, you can compare it to our days. So I'm using their currency, which is the zuz. So maneh, meaning 100 zuz, was the marriage commitment to the first wife. Veshel zo 200, for the second one, it was commitment for 200. Veshel zo 300, the third one was 300. Now, the beauty of this case is that all 3 was committed at the same time, which means that the lien against those, the estate of the deceased, applies for the same time to all 3, and you do not have a rules of one case take precedence before others. The Pnei Yoshua elaborates, and he said, if it was written in any concept, either in a promissory note or indirectly, for one ketubah preceding the others, then you go by the subsequent order. But since there is not, therefore you have to go ve'ein sham ela maneh, and unfortunately the deceased left only a estate that worth 100. Cholkin beshaveh, you have to divide it equally. Why? Because each of them has at least 100. You remember, the first one is 100, the second one is 200, and the third one is 300. So it means that each of them has a lien against his estates for 100. So therefore, the Rashi explained that you divided each of them equally, which means not by the value of the Ketubot, because you see 3 different values, the Ritva explains, but the current money that left from the deceased, and since it's 100, then it is a 33.3 to each one of the surviving wives. Again, even the Ketubot are in a different value. That's the first case. Second one, Hayusham 200, if left in the estate of the husband, the deceased, 200 zuz value. Shel maneh notelet 50, the one who has the commitment, the first, of 100, she collected 50. The Gemara going to ask this question, how come she collected 50 if you have 3 claims? But anyway, the first one 50, and then shel 200 v'shel 300, the second and the third, they have a claim of 200 and 300, shlosha shel zahav, which means the dinar that made out of gold, it's a value of 25 silver dinar, which the Gemara in Bava Metzia, page 45b, explain that dinar made out of silver is also called zuz, which means that the 3 golden dinar is equal to 75 zuz. So therefore, it's divided in this way. First one 50, second, third 75. Tosfot said that he have a hard time to conceptualize this Mishnah. There is a interpretation of Mahara mi Parno. It's one of the early commentators. He said that I have a revelation, something like special gift from heaven, to understand differently the Mishnah. I'm not going there. I'm just mention that it's other avenues. We just go by the literal pshat, Rashi, Ritva, basic explanations. The third circumstance in the Mishnah היו שם 300, meaning the deceased husband left 300 zuz. של מנה נוטלת 50, the one he owes, which is obviously the first one, he owes 100, she collected 50. של 200 מנה, the second one, she collected 100. ושל 300, and the third one, who has the commitment of 300 zuz, she collected 6 של זהב. And as we explained earlier, that's 150. Now, excuse me, we derive from that that's not only in the case of Ketubah, it also applies to a business people. When we're dealing with business, you have a partnership. And what happened with partnership, that each partner put in the business certain amount of money. In general, in the business world, the more you're investing in the business, the more you have a potential of income. So, וכן 3 שהטילו לכיס. 3 partners put money in the in the business. They use the term deposited money into a purse, which means invested different amount of money into a joint business venture. פיחתו או הותירו, if they gain or lost, כך הן חולקים. That's the way they divided, which all according to what they put in. That's the way Rashi explained. The Rabbeinu Hananel, which Tosfot brought, and also the Rif said that this match the third situation in the previous statement in the Mishnah, which means that each of the wives get an equal amount that match their Ketubah. Now, there is a responsa called Hamabit. He asked that question. 2 people have a partnership, for example, in a stocks. Okay, so they invested in the stock and each of them put a half of the money. Unfortunately, it can turn that you can not only lose the money you put in, but sometimes in order to survive, you need to put more money in a business. So it turns that these 2 partners lost more than they invested. So the one who invested less than the others, he come here and he said, you want me to put more money in this, but we agree upon partnership as long as we make money. Now we're losing money. I don't want to add more money to what I put already. So for example, you have investment of 100,000. One partner put 65, one partner put 35. And they both agree that if they make money, they split half and a half. Now the business turns sour and they lost. And it's not just the loss, they need to add more money in order to survive the business. The partner that put only 35 said, I'm not going to add more to the business. The other partner said, we agreed to split if we make. So basically the Mabit rules that since it was a pre-agreement between the 2 partners, so one partner cannot change the original contract that was between the 2. But you see here is derivative from this Mishnah. So the Gemara challenged first the second ruling of the Mishnah. We said that if it was 200 in the estate of the husband after he's no longer among the living, the wife that have shel maneh, the one that has 100, notelet 50, that she collected 50. The question is, why 50? Tlatin utlata vetilta hu deit la. She deserved to get 33.3 zuz, which means 1/3 of 100. Why? Because she have this lien of value of 100 in the estate, and the first one is divided equally between the three, and if you divided 100 is 33.3. So why you say that she collecting 50? Amar Shmuel. Shmuel said, you know what? In this case we're talking about situation בחוטבת בעלת 200 לבעלת מנה דין ודברים אין לי עמך במנה. The second wife, the one who deserved to get 200, said, look, I signed for you, I don't want to fight with you, I don't want to have problems with you. Okay, for the first 100 it's yours. I'm not going to fight it. So therefore the first 100 divided only between the third one who has the Ketubah for 300 and the first one who has 100. So therefore, since it divided 100 between two partners, so then the first one gets 50 and the third one gets another 50. The Gemara challenged those rules and they said, if Shmuel's statement is correct, if that's the case, let's read the last ruling of the Mishnah. Shel 200 v'shel 300. The second wife who has the contract, the marriage contract of 200, the third one who has the contract of 300, shalosh shel zahav, which means they have 33 of gold, which is 75 zuz each. If you tell me in a situation that the one who has the Ketubah of 200 zuz gave up her right of the first 100, Teimala, the third one who have the 300 zuz marriage contract, said to the second one, Ha salkat nafshach mina, you already said that you gave up your right to the first wife, and therefore the 100, the first one, receive nothing, and then the second one receive 75, and you do not have a part of this, and as a result the second one deserve 50, which is her part from the second maneh, 100, and the third one needs to get 100, which is a half of the portion that she divided with the first one, and the second portion that she divided with the second one. So the Gemara said, Mishum de Amrale, that's incorrect, because the second one that have the Ketubah of 200 zuz said to the one who received 300 zuz Ketubah, the third one, Midinu udvarim hu desalikid nafshai. Guess what? I don't want to fight with her. I just gave up because of the fight of the first 100, but actually I did not give up my portion at all. Tosfot said, Lo itparish shafir ta'ama deha milta. It's not clear this situation, but the way we understand it, the first one is the 50, and basically the Ritva said that since the second one gave up to the first one, the third one in that sense also gave up for the first one, so they gave her half, which is 50. So you have here 25 to each of them from the, and the second one, the second 100, it's divided half and a half, and therefore the first one received 50, and the second one and the third one, each of them received 75. So it's 50, 75, 75. That's the way Ritva explained. There is a discussion among the poskim the rabbis' derivative from that, if you have a lawsuit between two people over monetary payment, meaning certain labor or certain works that was made, for sure we're not talking about daily labor like poalim, that for sure a person needs to pay immediately. But in a regular contractual agreement between two partners, we go in general by the day of the lawsuit applies, the meaning the day that they file the lawsuit. Anyway, the third ruling in the Mishnah, according to Shmuel, hayu sham 300, meaning if it was 300 in the estate of the husband, the first one of the 100, she collected 50. The one of 200 collected 100, and the 300 collected 150. So shel 200 mane, the 200 collected 100. We are now challenged the view of Shmuel. Why she received this amount? Shiv'im v'chamisha hu de'itla. She have only 75 zuz in the estate, the same as the previous situation, because you have here 25 from the first 100, 50 from the second 100, so she have nothing with the third maneh. Amar Shmuel, the third ruling of the Mishnah, it's applied bechotevet ba'alat 300, the third wife that has the marriage contract of 300, she writes leba'alat 200 to the second one, uleba'alat maneh, the first one, so she basically writes to the all preceding wives, the second and the first, din udvarim en li imachem bemaneh, I have no business with the first 100, which means the one that have the 200 Ketubah, she did not came out in any form, which means she still follow the claim of the right. So therefore the first two wives divided the first 100 equally, and the second and the third divided the second one equally, which means the one who received the 200 zuz receive a half of the first one, half of the second one, entitled to together full maneh. So how you put it together? You have the first one 50, the second one 100, the third one 150. So therefore the first maneh divided to 50, the first one 50, the second one 100, and the second one divided again 50 to the second one and 50 to the third one. So, and the third 100 divided solely for the third one. So you see here 50, 100 and 150, that's the way you divide it. We go by the simple explanation of the Rashi. Tosfot challenged us. Tosfot said, I'm not so sure what's the chidush, what's the point here. The Rabbeinu Nisim have a total different avenues. We just go by the basic understanding of Rashi. So Ravina goes now and explains that these two situations, two last circumstances in the Mishnah goes differently. And he said, Rav Yaakov minahar shmei de Ravina amar, Reisha, the first part of the Mishnah, Bishtei Tfisot, the first part of the Mishnah, the first clause of the Mishnah, where 200 dinars were available. So he said that's it's a two seizures of property. So the money came twice, two different times from the deceased husband. Once it came with value of 75 zuz, and the second time it came with the value of 125 zuz. So therefore, at the very beginning, this you have to go by the 75, that divided to three parts. The first one is 25. So again, the first one that come up with 75, you divide it equally to each of them with 25 each. Then you have the second Caesar, which is the 125. So each of them has a claim for how much? For 75 zuz. So the first one has a lien, a chov of 100. She already received 25. So therefore, you take this 125 and you divide it again for 25 of each of them. So therefore, you have here the first one, 50, so it's a 50. And now the 50 that left for the second one, you divided between the second and the third, so each of them have 25. So he ends up by the first one gets 150, the second one gets 75, the third one gets 75. The first one cannot claim anything from the 125 more than the 75, because her amount is only 100 and she received 25. So therefore the 50 that left divided between the second and the third one. The Seifa Bishtet Fisod, and the last part of the Mishnah deals with the two seizures of property. So it means that here you have the way that Ravina explains that neither one of those women gave up her right over any estate of their husband. So here you have the first one, the 75, and the second case you have the 225. So the first 75, each of the three wives have a claim. So therefore you divided 25 each. And then you have the second part that is 225. Each of them claim 75. So you have from the 225 you take 75, and therefore it's 25 to the first one, the second one 25, the third one is again 25. You have 150 left, right? 150 plus 3 times 25 is 225. So therefore the first one cannot receive, because she received her portion that she entitled to. You have 150 left. So after we took 75 from 225 and we have 150, the second one can claim only 100, because out of 225 she have a claim only for 175. So after we divide it to 75, you have 100 out of 150. So you have 50 to each of them. So therefore the first one received 50, the second one received 100, and the third one received 150. Now Ravina elaborates on the first situation. Reisha, the first case, that it was 200 in estate of the husband. Bishtei tfisot, you talk about 2 seizures of property. Denaflu 75 bechad zimna, that you have 75 zuz in one time, meaning when they come to court to have a court session, they rule to divide it equally between each of them, so it is 25 for each. So since each of them has at least a maneh of right toward the estate, ו-125 bechad zimna, and then they have 125 zuz in one time, so the 75 divided equally between the 3, and the 50 that left divided between the 2 that have the largest Ketubah, which means that the first one collected 50, and the other one collected 75. First one 50, second one 75, third one 75. That's the way we follow the Mishnah. Ravina elaborates on the last situation. Seifa, the last situation in Mishnah, that it was 300 in the estate of the husband. It also speaks about what? Bishtei tfisot, in 2 seizures of property. Denaflu 75 bechad zimna. So originally they receive 75 in one time. When they come to a court and they have a court session, they rule to divide it equally between the 3, and then umatayim 25 bechad zimna. So now you have the 225 in the other situation. So it means, as we said earlier, so in that case, the first one collected 50, the second one 100, and the third one 150, matching the Mishnah. There is a view that disputed the Mishnah. Tanya Mishnat Rabbi Natan. This is the ruling that follow Rabbi Natan. However, Rabbi Yehuda Anasi, the editor of the Mishnah, he said, En ani ro'eh dvarav shel Rabbi Natan be'elu. En ani ro'eh literally mean I do not see, but the figurative meaning is I do not agree. There is a Ramban Nachmanides on the Torah, Book of Bereshit, chapter 1, verse 4, that he explained, Vayar Elokim et ha'or ki tov, that it means that using the term Ein ani ro'eh, it means he used the term Ke'inyan be'adam shelo yadat tivo shel davar ad heyoto, which means it's kind of human being that does not know nature of a thing until it comes into being and he sees the result before him. So therefore, Rabbi said that he disagree with Rabbi Natan. Ela cholkot beshaveh. In each and every case, they divided equally, which means when you do not have sufficient fund, you divide it equally between each of them. Rabbeinu Hananel and Tosfot, they said that you go by the percentage, which means each of them go by the percentage of her. In reality, the code, the Shulchan Aruch, did not rule that way. Rav Sternbuch, the great South African rabbi, who's now in Israel, he brought the Aruch HaShulchan, that he also ruled that way. And he said, you go like, God forbid, a case like a bankruptcy. What do you do in bankruptcy? So all these people that lend money to that business, so they do not divide it equally for the estate that left, but you go by the percentage. Imagine if you have a business, someone lended 80% of the business, right? Let's say the business value is $1 million. Someone lend 800, one lend 25, and one lend $175,000. Now the estate left. The estate left of how much? Let's say 400,000 left. So you're not going to say, okay, we have three collectors, debt collectors, so you divide it equally. You cannot divide it between the one who lent 800, one lent 25, and one lent 175 equally, right? So you go by what? By the percentage-wise, which means you value the percentage of the loan, and then you value the current estate, and then you divide it equally in a percentage-wise for each of them. So he said the same here. When it's come to those Ketubot, Nashim, it can be that the one who has the Ketubah of Maneh of 100, she received the same as someone who have a Ketubah for 300. So therefore, he brought the Aruch HaShulchan that said that you go by the percentage. That's basically not matching the way the Gemara said, and not the way the Shulchan Aruch said. But Rav Sternbuch brought Rabbi Akiva Iger, who explained that this is basically Dina de Malchuta Dina. You go by the Minhag Hamdina, the tradition that the community have, meaning the country, the state, the people, the community that follows. So therefore, since we go by the percentage-wise, so therefore, Ktubat Maneh, you receive 1/3, and if it's 3 Maneh, it's getting 3 times, which is the 300. V'chen shlosha she'itilu. Then the next part is, if 3 individuals who deposited money into a purse, which means they invested different amounts in a joint business venture, divided the assets in a similar manner. So basically, when involved with business, you have 3 partners. So if you have some type of profit, whoever invested more receive more. So if you have one partners that put a half of the business, 50%, and you have 2 partners that put 25%, so you have the profit according to their investment. The problem is, imagine if they buy, for example, a car. So you cannot split the car, right? You have to differentiate between if you buy it as a taxi cab, right? They're using it in downtown Washington, or you're buying, so meaning you're buying the business, or you're buying the vehicle. Soon you see an example. In those days, they used to buy animal. The animal has to plow. You know, they walk in the field. But then they changed the avenues and they use the animal to slaughter. So again, since you cannot divide the animal, you split the animal to 2. So therefore, you have to go by the business avenue. So for example, if it was for plowing, and then they change direction and they want to slaughter the animal, so you divided, how do you divide it? You divided the limb of the animal. You basically divided by the investment that was put in the business. Not everyone goes. There are those who said you go 50-50 regardless. So see how it goes. אמר שמואל, 2 שהטילו לכיס. זה מנה וזה 200. You have the 2 partners that deposited money into a purse. One put 100 and the other one put 200. 93b, השכר לאמצע. The earning are divided equally. So Rabbeinu Asher, the Rosh, said they need to have ti'um merosh, they need to have a setup agreement in advance. If it's not, then they have no other choice but to divide it half and a half. Amar Rabba, mistabra milta de Shmuel, which means it appeared that I agreed with the view of Shmuel that you divided the benefits, the profits equally. Beshor lacharisha, if you purchase an ox, that's in those days, for plowing. Ve'omed lacharisha, and it was used for plowing. So if you now want to divide the earning from the work of the ox, since each part of the ox is necessary in order to plow, each partner's contribution is equally necessary. אבל בשור לחרישה ועומד לטביחה. But if you have an ox that was purchased for what? For plowing, and now all of a sudden they change direction and they want to slaughter it, so the Ritva explained, so it means that they change the business goal, and now they want to take the slaughtered ox and sell it or divide it between them. zenut לפי מעותיו וzenut לפי מעותיו. So it means they don't go by the original business plan, but they go by the current situation, and that's the big chidush, that the current situation is slaughtered animal, so you go by the current situation. Even originally they have a different plan, so therefore they go by their investment. If someone invested more, gets more, and vice versa. ורב אמנונה אמר, אפילו שור לחרישה ועומד לטביחה, השכר לאמצע. רב אמנונה disagree. And he said, even originally it was for plowing, and now they changed direction, and it's for slaughtering, the profit divided equally between them. Tosfot said it's specifically if it was for plowing, but lechatchila, if it was different, if it was originally for the purpose of slaughtering, you go by the investment of each partner. Meiti veishnayim sheitilu lechis zemane v'zematayim. The two partners put money into some purse, one 100, one 200. Hasachar lahemtza. They divided the profit equally. My love, beshol hacharisha v'omed litvicha. You have an ox that was plowing. It was purchased for plowing, and then now it's for slaughtering. Utuvta de Rabbah. So it means that that's opposite of what Rabbah said, because here it turns that you divided equally the profit between the partners. Said lo beshol hacharisha v'omed lacharisha. So the late Rav Wosner have a responsa of a situation of two partners. One bring money with very high interest, and the other one brings money with low interest. So the one who brings money with a low interest said to his partner, why should we divide the business equally, since my part is in a very low interest rate? So Rav Wosner have a response on that. Anyway, אבל שול החרישה ועומד לדביחה מאי, זה נוטל לפי מעותיו, וזה נוטל לפי מעותיו. Each of them take the profit according to his investment. עד תנא סיפא, לקח זה משלו, וזה בשלו, ונתערבו, זה נוטל לפי מעותיו. Which means, you cannot, Rashi said, compare the ox that is strong and healthy to the skinny oxes. So, וזה נוטל לפי מעותיו, לפלוג, so it said, ולפלוג וניתן בדידה, במה דברים אמורים בשול החרישה ועומד לחרישה? If you have an ox that designated for plowing and stand for plowing, אבל בשול החרישה ועומד לתביחה, that if you have an ox that intend to do plowing and now he is slaughtered, זה נוטל לפי מעותיו וזה נוטל לפי מעותיו. So each of them, according to his marital investment, each will be equally divided. So the Gemara said, הכנמי כאמר, במה דברים אמורים בשול החרישה ועומד לחרישה, אבל בשול החרישה ועומד לתביחה, but if the ox is for plowing and used for slaughter, so therefore it's become like a case, נעשה כמי שלקח בשלו ובשלו וזה בשלו, ונתערבו, זה נוטל לפי מעותיו וזה נוטל לפי מעותיו. So it's like a case where this partner purchased oxen in his own funds, and that partner purchased oxen in his own funds, and they become mixed when the two owners entered a joint business venture. So therefore, this partner takes portion according to his marital investment, and the other takes according to his marital investment. זה נוטל לפי מעותיו וזה נוטל לפי מעותיו. So the Dayan Weiss asked a question: if you have two partners that they are not on paper's partner, they are like partners, they have agreement between them, but formally they are not. Why? Because you have one partner that is person that already declared bankruptcies, have such a situation that the banks now lending him money just because they want him to return his debt, to have the business back, so he return the debt that he owe them. You have the other partner that is total clean and have no issues of credit. So here the partners brought a different credits and different interest. Each partner have a different credit. So one partner said to the other, hey, we originally agreed to split the business, but look what happened. The credit that I receive from the bank is hugely different than yours. And since the bank doesn't know about you, if the bank know that you are my partner, they will not lend the money. So since we are secret in a way partners, you cannot expect me to divide the business equally. So it's a big discussion. Rabbi have a response how to do it. None. ושלושה שהטילו לכיס פיחתו או אותרו, כך הם חולקים. מה אליו פיחתו? פיחתו ממש, אותירו ממש, which means you say that these actual loss or actual profits, which means that they buy with the money of the business and they sell less than the investment or more, which means that they take the profit or the loss according, so that this is a question of Shmuel, because we said that if it's 2/3 and 1/3 partnership, and he said here that it's a half and a half, how come? So אמר רב נחמן, אמר רבא בר אבוה, לא, הותירו זוזי חדתי, פיחתו הסתירה דצוניתא. No, you know what happened? When they pichatu, when they have less, they lost, it means that they receive defective coins, usual for a wound, which means that's the Gemara in Shabbat, that page 65, that deal with, you have here a situation that you have 600 old dinar versus the new one. So you have here a coin that has a value less than its value, so you have here a profit or loss. It's always you go by half and a half. The Khatam Sofer, in conclusion, he said in Choshen Mishpat, Siman Tzadik Zayin, chapter 97, he dealt with three people that dealt with a jewelry business, jewelry and this type of a precious stones business. And they agreed between them that one person carry the precious stones. He has his own personal benefit for carrying those stones. One day, the person discovered that he has a hole in his pocket, and he lost some of these stones. So they came before the court. The question is, did he treat it as a shomer chinam, which means a guardian with no payment, or he treated as a poshea, as someone who mistreated a fund that have by others? So Khatam Sofer said, you cannot treat him as a shomer chinam because he has tovat hanaha, he derived benefit from that. So you treat it as a guardian that get payment, which is the shomer sachar, and anyway he needs to pay to the other partners. So there is a story that I heard from the late Ger Rebbe. He said it by the famous Shoel Umeishiv. Shoel Umeishiv is one of the great rabbis that wrote the Responsa, etc. Someone stole a precious stones from someone's pocket, which means it's either stolen or lost, but it's appeared that it was stolen. So the question is, they came before the Moshe Weisblum, and he said it's pshia, he needs to pay for that losing stone. So he said, how come? The Khatam Sofer said that it's not. So he laughed. So they asked him, why are you laughing? He says, you can compare. The Khatam Sofer's era, people used to have a long begeshe, or long frock. They have a long coat. So therefore, if they have a long, so it's considering a loss, the aveda. But in nowadays, that people wear a short jacket, so therefore it's considering a pshia if he lost the stones. And basically you go by the minhag hamakom, the way that people live at their time, which means Shoel Umeishiv's time was different than Khatam Sofer.
Boyachem leshuloim malachai yeshuloim malachai